Hey there and welcome back to NBA 2K18's My League mode. My name is Pete and today we complete our first season matchup with the Cleveland Cavaliers and a few other games as well, of course. The Louisville Legionnaires' start to their second season has been less than stellar so far, as we have started the 2018-19 NBA season with 3 losses in a row. And coming up next we have a game against the Cavaliers, who kept their roster together for the most part and were also able to add Luka Doncic in the draft and are therefore now one of the top title contenders. So let's jump in and see how this game goes. By the way, thank you all so much for the feedback on the new uniforms. I'm very happy that most of you like them. Now after one quarter played, Cleveland already with a nice 9-point lead, thanks to LeBron James, who scored 16 of the Cavaliers' 30 points. In the second quarter the game remained fairly close. Josh Richardson was our primary scorer here, and thanks to some stellar outside shooting we were able to keep the deficit at 9 points going into the halftime. Now in the third quarter we were able to steal one more point away and narrowed the deficit down to 8, but the real catching up took place in the fourth quarter. Now what you see here is excellent defense by Rodney Hood on LeBron James. First, Hood blocks the layup attempt, but James recovers, and then 6'8" Hood makes life difficult in the post for James, leading to a missed fadeaway jumper. But the play doesn't stop here. Hood grabs the rebound and brings the ball up court, where he quickly settles and waits for the pick. And over the left side pick from Juan Hernangomez, Hood drives to the basket and hits the tough contested layup over Tristan Thompson, tying the game up with 6.5 minutes left to play. And just 30 seconds later, Hood finds himself at the free throw line, and despite missing the first, he hits the second one and gives the Legionnaires the lead for the first time in this game. We weren't really able to pull away, but with 1 minute left on the clock, Deontay Davis produces this highlight right here, a beautiful putback dunk putting the Legionnaires up by 2. The Cavaliers, however, would proceed to tie the game back up again, until with only 20 seconds left, Ulis finds Hernangomez for the easy jumper, and the Legionnaires once again have a narrow 2-point lead. And this right here is now the last possession of the game. LeBron James in one of his favorite positions, but apparently not looking to shoot the ball. Kevin Love then does not get the ball on the cut, instead Isaiah Thomas gets open, and despite a hand in his face he drills the three-pointer with 0.2 seconds left. And so, unable to produce anything meaningful with that little time left on the clock, we lose this game in heartbreaking fashion, 99-98. Performance-wise, we once again have to mention Josh Richardson, who scored 25 points on a ridiculous 73% shooting percentage, followed by Juan Hernangomez, who produced 17 points, 4 rebounds and a very nice 3 steals. Tyler Ulis for a change definitely outplaying Yogi Ferrell in this one, as Ulis finishes with a 10-point, 10-assist double-double. Mo Bamba also had his first game scoring in double figures, putting up 10 points on 5 of 6 shooting in only 18 minutes. Rodney Hood once again had a very strong fourth quarter, however his overall performance still somewhat lackluster. 8 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal and the block is nothing to complain about, but shooting only 2 of 11 from the field, those numbers need to improve. And with that we have now earned ourselves the 4th straight loss. Now I'm not panicking just yet, the last season started equally bad, and with 2 games against the Suns coming up I hope at least one of those will turn out to be a victory. The first game, however, ends in a rather disappointing finish, as the Suns with rookie Michael Porter beat us comfortably by 21 points. And 21 points, by the way, that was also Porter's scoring output in this game. For us, the leading scorer was Rodney Hood with 24 points, and what follows is a rather large gap. Ferrell and Hernangomez are the only other players scoring in double figures, Ferrell with 11 and Hernangomez with 10, also once again with 3 steals, but the rest of the team remained rather disappointing, especially Josh Richardson, who scored only 9 points on 4 of 14 shooting. Rookie Mohamed Bamba once again got some playing time with 20 minutes, and he was able to put up a solid stat line with 7 points and 7 rebounds. That now makes it 5 losses in a row, and I think it's time for some minor changes. And the player I'm looking at here is Alex Abrines. Abrines is currently playing in the role as the backup shooting guard behind Richardson, although his performances over the last 5 games were really not that convincing. Abrines gets about 15 minutes of playing time off the bench, and in those 15 minutes he currently averages about 5 points, half a rebound, half an assist and slightly less than 1 steal per game. Now those numbers are not horrible, but they're also not that great either. They are, however, accompanied by terrible shooting percentages, as Abrines only makes 25% of his shots from the field and an even worse 12% from 3. So I think it's safe to say that Abrines is currently in a bit of a slump, and the 5-game losing streak gives us a great opportunity to try out someone else. And of course, I'm talking about Rashad Vaughn. Since he joined us about a year ago, Vaughn has definitely improved his shooting, and he is now not on par with Abrines but definitely getting closer. Additionally, he's a bit better than Abrines when it comes to driving to the basket, and this is very important, at least stat-wise, he is the better defender. So, effective immediately, Abrines and Vaughn will switch roles. Abrines will move to the reserves, while Vaughn gets about 15 minutes a night as the backup shooting guard. And let's see, maybe that small change is already enough to help us against the Suns in the next game. And indeed it does. In Phoenix, we beat the Suns in a rather low-scoring game, 88-86. Despite the win, however, we have no real standout performers, as Rodney Hood, Tyler Ulis and Yogi Ferrell are the only guys scoring in low double figures. Ferrell also got injured in this game, and we'll talk about that in a second, but let's also quickly mention Rashad Vaughn, who in his first game of the season put up 8 points and 2 rebounds. And especially his shooting numbers, 3 of 5 from the field and 2 of 3 from downtown, that looks like a nice improvement over Abrines. But then again, this one single game is a fairly small sample size. Now let's quickly talk about Ferrell here, who pulled his right calf muscle and will miss about 1 to 2 weeks. Now the good thing here is that he will be back relatively shortly. The bad thing is that we don't have a third-string point guard to step in. So I had to find a somewhat unorthodox solution to the problem, and first of all, that solution of course includes giving heavy minutes to Tyler Ulis, who now steps in as the starting point guard. The remaining minutes that Ferrell's departure from the rotation leaves us with are then split evenly between Richardson, Hood and Harkless, as both Richardson and Hood can play point guard for stretches, but that of course will leave a spot at the wing open, which is why Harkless gets a few additional minutes as well. With that lineup, we then set out for the rematch against the Cavaliers, and we actually win again against arguably the best team in the league right now, squeezing by in overtime. And I have to admit this was the last thing I expected, but an upset victory like this is always a great thing to have early on in the season. Stats-wise, once again nobody really exploded in this game, but Richardson had 17 points, 5 rebounds and also 3 steals, and Tyler Ulis also filled the stat sheet with 14 points, 7 rebounds and 7 assists. With Hood, Harkless, Johnson and Bamba, 4 more guys scored in double figures, and this might be the beginning of a trend here, Hernangomez once again got himself 3 steals. And he now actually averages 1.7 steals per game, leading the entire team ahead of Josh Richardson. And if that in itself wasn't crazy enough, he also currently shoots 61% from deep, so over these last 7 games it might be somewhat safe to say that Hernangomez has actually improved his shooting performance compared to last season. Our next game then takes place in Memphis, and despite the Grizzlies being one of the worst teams in the league right now, they beat us by 10 points, 98-88. For us, the only player that really stood out was probably Tyler Ulis, who scored 19 points to go along with 5 rebounds, 5 assists and 3 steals. The only other guy I quickly want to mention is Josh Richardson, who put up 10 points and also got himself 5 blocks. So with the 2-6 record, we go up against the Wizards next, and we improve to 3-6 after dismantling Washington 116-92. Both Hood and Richardson scored 20 in this game, both with formidable shooting percentages, while Ulis, Hernangomez, Johnson and Kuzma all had nice scoring performances as well, with each one of them scoring in double figures. Now up next we have a game against the Knicks coming up, but before we get to play that one, we have the first trade of the season coming up. The Milwaukee Bucks are looking to acquire Tomas Satoransky and Jason Smith from the Wizards in exchange for Matthew Dellavedova and a second-round draft pick. Now, the Bucks in this case would get rid of Dellavedova and his almost $10 million contract for the next 2 seasons. In exchange, they would acquire 2 expiring contracts in Smith and Satoransky, allowing them to probably get back above the salary cap next season. The Wizards would not only acquire a second-round draft pick, but also a slightly longer-term point guard solution, compared at least to the expiring Harris and Satoransky. Acquiring a bit more salary in the process shouldn't be something to worry about, as next season, with Wall's contract extension kicking in, the Wizards will already be $20 million above the cap, so the additional year of Dellavedova's contract shouldn't hurt them that much. So all in all, I think this is a trade both sides should be able to agree upon, and so I see no reason to decline it. Our game against the Knicks then ends in a close 1-point loss at home, despite a career-high 14 points from Mo Bamba. Tyler Ulis, Deontay Davis, Mo Harkless and Bryce Johnson the other scorers in double figures here tonight, but once again nobody really stands out. That would change in our next game against the Raptors, in which we not only come away with a 5-point victory, but also with a 21-point scoring output from Bryce Johnson, who only missed a single one of his 11 shot attempts. Rodney Hood was able to add 17 and Hernangomez 11, but with Hernangomez once again the steals are the stat of interest, as he manages to set a new career high with 5 steals against the Raptors here. Up next, we have another home game against the Utah Jazz, and we are once again victorious, beating the Jazz 116-105. Rodney Hood leads all scorers with 24 points, although 11 of those came from the free throw line, but he was also able to add 6 rebounds and 6 assists to his stat line. Tyler Ulis also with a convincing performance in this one, 21 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists and 2 steals. If he can continue to produce those numbers, he might just keep the starting spot. For the last game of the week, we are hosting the Brooklyn Nets, but before we get to look at the results, we have to send out our scout for the first time this season. And once again, our first priority are the best prospects available, so we'll send him out to scout the top 8 of this year's draft class. And very interesting to see here is that among these top 8 players we have 3 point guards, a position that I would love to target in the next draft. With our scouts sent out, we can then skip ahead to the end of the Nets game, and that one ends our small 2-game win streak as we fall short at home 102-95. Richardson, Ulis and Davis the top scorers for us tonight, but the overall team performance was not enough to come up with the victory here. So with 13 games played, let's wrap this episode up with a quick look around the league, as a few things have happened that might be of interest. Now, we already know that Steph Curry is still recovering from a torn ACL, but Andre Drummond has now also joined the list of long-term injuries. And that is especially unlucky for the Pistons, as they are currently tied with the Bucks and the Wizards for the first spot in the Eastern Conference. In the West, by the way, Houston leads the pack ahead of Minnesota and Denver. We then have another unfortunate but likely not completely unexpected injury on Joel Embiid, who fractured his already pretty injury-prone left foot. Embiid will now miss at least a month, and I think that will reflect in Philadelphia's record. Let's also have a look at contract extensions, because apart from Kawhi Leonard and Russell Westbrook, a few other players have joined the party. Kyrie Irving, for example, rejoins the Celtics on a 3-year deal worth about $93 million, and Klay Thompson also resigns on a monster contract with the Warriors, extending his services for 4 more years with a price tag of over $128 million. The Pacers then re-sign Miles Turner for 4 more years, also on a deal worth 9 figures, and we also have a few smaller short-term deals with Markieff Morris, Kenneth Faried and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. And speaking of Kidd-Gilchrist, his team is the one that we're going to face to start the next episode. I hope that we can get a few more wins in that one, as with our current record we are only on pace to win 32 games this season, which would only be 2 more compared to last year, and that could rightfully be called a disappointment. So as always, if you like this episode, then please leave a thumbs up, and of course, if you want to support the channel and stay up to date, then feel free to subscribe. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!